everybody, Miranda Pitrone here with you. I think that today we are going to do this lovely little heart that I did years ago now, but I've had a lot of requests for people asking me to show how I painted this heart. So this one was on stone originally, and I'm going to do it on canvas today just because I think that'll be easier for starting out to learn the design, and then you can put the design on stone, wood, whatever you want. So it's this turquoise and metallic heart, and this is it here on the screen. And I sold it a while ago, so I don't have the actual stone to show anymore, but you can get the idea. There's sort of a gradient from dark to light on the outer edge of the turquoises, and then we're mostly using white turquoise, and it's kind of like an espresso chocolate metallic. So those are the colors that we're going to have to get together for this. And originally on this stone I used a purple background. It was called Regal Purple, but for the canvas today I am going to use black, just the matte black. Alright, so I have my canvas here. Maybe I'll use this one, it's covered better. And it's just a 3x3 inch mini canvas. And this is just a turntable, like the cookie decorating turntables. I just find it easier sometimes to use that, especially with canvas. It doesn't slip as much on top of my cloth here. So it makes it a little easier to turn the design as needed to create the pattern that we want and just get the optimum vantage point. So I just painted this with matte black, and then it's just from the Decoart acrylics. And then I measured out about a 3-inch design on paper. So I did a folded piece of paper the size of this canvas, and then I just cut one side of a heart out, and then you'll get 2 equal sides here for your design. If not, you can just sketch a heart as well. That you can do that for your design too, but just for the purposes of this, I sketched it out. I mean, I'm going to sketch it out, but I cut it out. Alright. Okay. So I'm just going to trace our little heart here on my canvas so that it just gives me a guideline. And I am using a pencil here, but a lot of times too you all have seen me use my etcher, which is just a sharp piece of metal at the end of a stylus that I use, and I usually just scratch it into the paint, but I don't want to run the risk of puncturing my canvas today, so we'll skip that for today. There we go. Alright, so now I usually just eyeball it, but you can measure your heart all the way across too, which we knew was about 3 inches because of the canvas. And then from the edge of your heart, you could always just kind of come in here with a compass or whatever, measure in the 3 inches to find the center area of your heart. Alright, so also we had those nice kind of arched lines up here of dots that were on that previous heart design. So if you want to make those kind of an equal distant type design from your center, you can take your compass. Let me turn it so you guys can see. And you're going to take your compass and do, how many did that have? That one had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of color. So depending on how many rows of color you want to create up here, then I would just, you could take a compass, like I said, and then start from your center point and just go ahead and draw in some arc lines for your dots. So if you want it to go along that kind of arc, whoop, I just poked a hole, but if you want them kind of along this arc, you can do that and then extend it a little, but it'll still be on the same arc from your center point. It just depends on what direction you want the arcs to go. So if you want it to kind of look circular, you can do that, or you can just kind of extend out and wing it freehand, so that you just dot in an arc formation for one of your rings and then just follow it out from there like that as well. So it just depends on what you feel more comfortable doing. So I'm going to erase these here, but that's just to give you an idea on how you can do some. So I think for this one I'm actually just going to start with the design first and then see how much space we have up here. So then when we get to the arcs, it'll be easier for me to decide how many we can fit in this design. So our center is going to be the multi-surface Decoart chocolate. It's one of their metallic multi-surface, but I also could use this rich espresso, is similar, and their dazzling metallics. Alright, so I'll use the dotting tools since more of you have the dotting tools. It may be a little bit easier, but you can use your own tools, your brushes, or whatever. These are just nail stylist tools that I'm using. I think actually I'm going to go and use the largest one I have, which is about 3 millimeters. And that's going to be our center dot here. And then with one that's probably, I don't know, about 1 millimeter, I'm going to do a plus sign, so above, below, and then side to side with that metallic as well, just like that. And I'm going to leave the space here right now, but that will be filling in later with white. Alright, so the next one I'm going to be using is Coastal Waters, and that one is actually going to go right above the metallic that we just did, and it's going to be a little bit larger. So you can use the 3 millimeter if you want, but I'm actually just going to use one of the smaller ones and then just push it around a little bit bigger. This one is maybe the 2 millimeters. I'll just go right above it like that. And these colors will be a little bit different just because the, I don't even know if I own some of the paints that I painted this first one with anymore. I've switched almost only over to Decoart now because I just love their paints. They make everything easier because I don't have to add anything to them. So, alright, so just above that, we're going to use this gorgeous desert turquoise, which is a little bit darker. We're just going to do a little bit smaller dot just because I want to make the mandala petals come up just above this. Those, and then I'm using those to guide drawing out the petals after too. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the inner part here with our titanium white. And we're going to go on the angles just a little bit larger than we did the metallic. Just like that. And then I'm actually, while it's still wet, gonna steal from these dots to go around. Just like that. All right, now around those white, we're gonna go back to our metallic and do a ring of the metallic around the whites that we just put down, just like that. Okay, now with your pencil, or this is my etcher, which I think I'm gonna go for it because I hate to have to erase lines in the center of a design. The outside's not so much a problem, you can just kind of brush it away, but so this just scratches onto the canvas and then I can just wet it afterwards to erase it. But I'm just gonna sketch in the mandala petals here, and they're gonna be a little bit wider, so I'm starting at the top of the metallic dots that we just put rings around are white, and then that metallic row, start at the top dot of that, and you're just gonna trace out and about kind of like a flower petal. And even that is such a high takeoff point here because I realized the original design wasn't quite that high. Get some water here. On this side now, let that dry. So we just want to come just above here with our ending of the petal. So you're going from the top of the metallic out, curve around and point up like that, and then come out, curve down and hit that other side top metallic dot. We'll do it again here. I'm just sketching out, or coming up to a point, out and around like that. And if you don't like the way your petals are looking, you can kind of fix them, or you could do a stencil ahead of time if that was preferable to you, but I just kind of freehand it here. So top of that metallic, and then we're going to the top of the blue with the point, and then curving back down to the other metallic here. So it should start to look like this. And then we have one more at the top to catch here. And then you can just kind of take a step back and look at your design if that's fitting where you want it to fit and it looks kind of equidistant on both sides, then you should be good to go. And mine does come to the top point here of the heart, where the heart meets. So that may be something to keep in mind too when you're doing your centering and putting these dots down, not to make them too large because it's going to push your design up closer here and you'll have less space for the design. Alright, now we're going to outline those petals with white, which we already have down on the palette. And I start usually in the center of the petals, just because I like the bigger dots down on the sides here. And then as the paint runs off your tool, they get smaller towards the top and it looks a little more delicate in the design. But that's just my personal preference. You could do the same size dots, however you prefer. This is just how I prefer to do them. So larger dots on the side, and then just kind of work your way up to the top of the petals. Plus I kind of feel like the larger dots at the bottom kind of give it that idea of a base. Just like that. Alright, now we are going to go with a fairly larger dot. Not quite as large as the center, I guess, but in between the white petals that we just created, I'm going to go with the Dazzling Metallic Teal. And I use a larger dotting tool. Which again I think is about 3 millimeters. And just get a good amount on that tool, and in between these just give it a nice big dot of teal there. All right, now while we're waiting for those to dry, I'm going to go back to the metallic that we used in the center, that espresso or chocolate, and with the larger dotting tool as well. Actually, I'm debating. There's some swipes along the side here that we're going to do that might be easier for us if our metallic dot isn't here. So I'm just debating the order of doing this. Yep, so we're going to actually hold off on those metallic dots first. Alright, so the reason I'm holding off is because we're going to do some dot drags along here. And I don't want them to run into our wet metallic dot if we did that there. So I'm going to go with some turquoise blue here. And then with the smallest dotting tool I have, just to kind of create this, keep this a delicate looking design with the smaller aspects of the design elements, I'm just going to start at that teal metallic that we did and drag it out to the top of our petals here, just like that. And you're going to do that from every teal dot around every single petal. And you're just kind of following the guide of the petal, but not touching the dots, so that it still has a little bit of an arc like this, and then you indent in a little and follow it to the top peak of that petal. And if you want to practice on a piece of paper first, that might be prudent, just to see how far out your tool will drag certain amounts of paint, just so you get an idea of which tool you'll need for the size of the design. Just like that. Alright, so now we can go ahead with our metallic, that espresso or chocolate in a larger dotting tool size, and put that right out to the end of each of those petals, like that. Alright, and the top of every one of those teal dots is going to get a white as well, with one of the smaller size dotting tools, maybe about the 1 millimeter. And then I'm going to steal a little actually from each of those and put a smaller one above. Just like that. And then on either side of those white, I think I'm going to go, I did a lighter blue. So I have this not winter blue, sorry, baby blue, that I think I'm going to use and do 2 small dots on either side of the white that we just put down, just to kind of pull in the colors together here. That's even a little more purple than I would like in that color compared to the colors that we have down, but you get the idea, it's okay. You can use whatever light blues you have. There. and on the previous design, I also did white. Two dots of white here at the top, and then two at the bottom at the base of that metallic one. Right there and there. And then in the bottom of our white, of our metallic here rather, sorry. Alright, so I think I'm gonna go with this Shoreline blue and do a little dot just above the darker turquoise one that we did around these. And it looks like here I did, pardon me, a little swipe here, and then a little one on the other side as well. Okay, I think I'm going to use that Shoreline blue again and just do a couple little ones on either side. Okay, so now that that is pretty much dry and I'm not in danger of hitting any of the dots here and messing it up, I think I'm just going to test the space that we have. And I'm putting my compass just along down the side by the teal dot and just kind of test and see what kind of arc I want to put on here. I think on the original I had it decently close to here, but I had a little more negative space. So I might actually have, the shape of the heart was a little bit different because it was on a rock too, so. But I think we can make it work with this. But if you're going to use the compass, you want to keep the arc the same on both sides so that your angle isn't off. So when you get onto the other side here, you just want to make sure you're putting it the same place, a little bit farther down from the teal on the diagonal. And then you'll have them about the same place here, like that. And then you can just kind of take a look and eyeball just to make sure that they're about where you want it. And you don't have to draw every single row, because after you do the first row you can just line them up with the first row and kind of go from there, because I think I did it on here where you can see. No, you can't, because the light's different now tonight. Well, I'll just have to paint it and show you. with the arch on either side here, all I did was go from light to dark with the blues and turquoises. Turquoises? I guess it's still kind of a blue color, but so I'm gonna take, let's see, maybe the Shoreline and mix it with a little bit of white just to go a little bit lighter. And on these too, I want to kind of keep the larger dots, still have them graduate to smaller sizes, but I'm going to do the larger ones in the center and work my way to the edges, similar to how you do the petals. So I want the thicker ones in the center there. And you may have to reload a little more depending on how big you want them to stay and how quick you want them to get small off to the sides. It just depends on your own personal preference. And then once you get the first round on, it's a little bit easier to go ahead and do the rest, just because you have that to kind of follow as a guideline. And then, so for that was the Shoreline in white. Then I can just go with the straight Shoreline, and it's the next darker color. And then just work your way as many as will fit. Now this design will be a little different as well, ultimately, just because on the stone one, I had painted the heart, that purple, remember? So it already had its shape there. So once we get rid of these lines, we're not going to have the heart shape completely there. So I am going to have to fill it in or outline it in some other manner, I believe, just to kind of finish it off so you can still see the heart. But at least you get the idea of how the design went. And then you could do different colored backgrounds and your own colored stones if this was just the design you wanted and not necessarily the colors. That way too, you can at least just see the way it formulates. So then the next one was the Shoreline, and I just, with these ones, went directly on top of one another as opposed to interspersing them between the spaces. A lot of times we'll alternate in the space of each one. So it does get a little bit, I don't want to say tricky. It's not impossible to keep them about the same size. But you can just kind of gauge how much paint you have on the tool and see, you know, I put that one down, it's the right size. And that one's too small, so I want to maybe just borrow from one of the other ones. And then I want them to get smaller, so we won't add any more paint to it and let it run off like that. And it takes a little bit of practice, but you'll get the hang of it. It's just like any tool, the more you use it, the better you are, the more adept you are at using it, I should say. The easier it gets. Just takes a little bit of training. And your eyes will get used to, okay, that's how much I put on the tool, or if you're using the brushes, it depends on how hard you push down. See, I'm yapping. I got a little off track there, but it's not the end of the world. Because they're not lined up completely in little columns, I'll just make the next one a little bigger there. And it doesn't, you know, it's not the end of the world if you're off track a little bit, if you're not exactly in alignment. I think that just adds to the beauty of a piece and makes it unique. So that was the Shoreline. Now let's go with some coastal waters, I guess. Let's try that. Coastal water? Yeah. And you can even change it up. You want to go bigger on the outside, or do 2 large dots and do dots around those. I mean, there's so many ways to change up your designs. It's a lot of fun to just play around with them and see where you can go. But I had a lot of requests for how to do the full design of this one, just so you all could see what it looked like. And I try to make it happen for you guys because I want to help you out. This is fun, it's enjoyable. I want you all to love it as much as I do. I love painting. It's so relaxing and therapeutic, and just put on some calm music or whatever kind of music you like to listen to. Sometimes I even do upbeat, and then you get into a rhythm where you're dotting to the beat of the song, which that's kind of fun too. So. I've had patients that I've taken care of over the years that were homebound, and you know, nowadays with online shopping, you can get almost anything delivered to your home. So even stones and painting supplies, and I just think if you can and you're able, it doesn't matter ultimately what it looks like, because it's just an enjoyable time of relaxation. Plus then you can meditate on really pretty colors. Now these are kind of like the sand and sea kind of colors I really enjoy, so I tend to grab these a lot. Alright, so that one was the Coastal Waters. I'm going to go a little bit darker now with a Peacock Teal. I thought I used this one before. Maybe it was the Desert Turquoise that I used earlier. Yeah, the Desert Turquoise is a little bit darker. So this Peacock Teal I don't think I've shown yet. This one is really, really pretty color. So it's a little bit greener, greenish blue, kind of aquamarine in that zone. They're just so rich too. These colors are so bright. So this is the Peacock Teal, and it'll start to darken up towards the outer edge here as we go. And I'm just kind of tucking them into the heart shape at the top. And then the Desert Turquoise, it's a bit darker. And potentially too, I would say maybe it's a little bit bluer here. They have so many shades, it's just amazing. And I've said in the past too, I don't usually enjoy mixing colors. So if I don't have to, I like to just grab and go. So this is the, oh, I almost just, there we go, Desert Turquoise. I did these a little bit bigger just to kind of fill in that last space at the top of the heart here. And it's on a little higher of an arc just to kind of fill in that rounded bit. Okay, and I think, let me double check here on my phone, but I believe on the old design, yeah, on the older design, I just kind of took some of the turquoise that I used in the last dots, and I filled in the bottom corner of the heart. And I don't really want to do it with this one, but that is what the design looked like on the last one. Like I said, you know, I have times where I change my mind or I realize I didn't like what I did on that design, so I don't want to go back and do that on this one. So I think I'm just going to do 3. I'm going to still use that desert turquoise, but I think I'm just going to do the bottom with like 3 larger dots instead. Because ultimately too, I need to decide what I'm going to do to make my heart stand out, because it is not painted with a background of purple, it's just the black matte on the canvas. So, but that is the design that you all saw on the stones. Let me just double check here and make sure I did every element that was on it. Yes, okay. So you can see, I know I tried this earlier and it's not. We'll try to put it down here like this. So that was on stone, but you can see the purple background, obviously it separates it from the gray stone, and then down here is where I had just kind of filled it in with the turquoise. I don't know why I did that. But after I did it, I didn't like it, and I didn't think about, back then, I guess I didn't think about using my background color to paint over it, so I just left it. But in the future, after this video, I'll probably fill this in with a different, maybe outline or different kind of design to help delineate this heart, but I'll keep it like this just so you can kind of see that that's mainly the design that I did on that stone. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it again. I almost very rarely recreate ones that I've done, so it was fun to redo this one again. And you work through it too and see, like, I wish I hadn't done that, or done something different, or you think other designs as you go. So it's very helpful, I think. All right. If you are looking to see more of my videos, you can just click the subscribe button and you'll get notifications as to when I put out new videos. And just a quick side note, my Patreon customers, subscribers, whichever you want to call it, the people who are in my art community on Patreon actually do get first viewing of every video that I put out. It goes to them first. So if you're a subscriber on there, or you're looking to be, it's patreon.com, and I will post the link in the description here. And you get the videos first, and before anyone else. Also, if you're looking for other places to see my art, I am on Instagram and Facebook, and also we can interact a little bit more there. Although I do look forward to the YouTube comments, it doesn't allow you guys to post any pictures, or, you know, sometimes I don't know if people aren't getting notifications when I reply to your questions, because I don't ever hear back again. So, but I'm trying to reply as much as I can to all of them, so please keep them coming. I love the questions, I love suggestions, I love hearing what different styles you use and different experiences you've had in art. So, All right, I'm gonna end this for the evening and send it on out to y'all. So have a good night, and I look forward to doing more videos and hearing from all of you. Have a great evening.